Trust isn't something you can purchase, inherit, or demand. It's not a line item in a contract or a clause in a deal. It's built slowly, quietly, over time, through actions that align with words, through choices that reflect integrity when no one's keeping score. You can have all the credentials, accolades, and influence in the world, but if your words and behaviors don't match, people will notice. They may not call it out directly, but they'll feel it. And once doubt enters the equation, trust begins to erode. In a culture driven by instant gratification, trust remains one of the few things that refuses to be rushed. It's rooted in the small decisions, the repeated patterns, the subtle moments where someone sees you choose the harder right over the easier wrong. It doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from reliability. It comes from people knowing they can count on you to show up, to tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable, and to take responsibility when things go wrong. These aren't skills you can outsource. These are character traits you cultivate. There's a temptation to believe that if you have the money, the title, or the spotlight, people will trust you. But that's not how it works. Money can attract attention and gain access, but it can't replace authenticity. People may follow what you say for a while, but they only commit when they feel what you stand for. And that feeling doesn't come from branding or optics. It comes from consistency, when who you are is the same in private as it is in public. That's when trust begins to form. We live in a world where people are skeptical, and for good reason. They've seen too many leaders say one thing and do another. They've been burned by promises that were polished but empty. So now, more than ever, trust is sacred. It's not a marketing asset. It's a human connection. It's the foundation of all meaningful relationships, whether in business, leadership, friendship, or family. And the cost of breaking it is far higher than the effort it takes to build it. When you show up with consistency, people stop wondering about your agenda. When you lead with character, people stop questioning your motives. And when you act in alignment with your values, even when it costs you something in the short term, that's when trust deepens. Because people see that you're not just in it for yourself, you're not just playing the game, you're standing for something bigger than your own gain. And while that may not win every deal or dominate every headline, it creates something more lasting, credibility, respect, and loyalty that can't be bought or manipulated. Trust is one of those rare forces that multiplies when it's mutual. When people feel trusted by you, they're more likely to trust you in return. And this loop becomes a quiet kind of momentum, where relationships grow stronger, teams become more cohesive, and leadership becomes more human. In a world that moves faster by the second, where efficiency is celebrated and everything can be optimized, connection often becomes collateral damage. We think being reachable means being present, but there's a difference between contact and connection. Convenience makes life smoother, but presence makes life meaningful. You can send a text, join a video call, leave a voice note, but none of those replace sitting across from someone, looking them in the eyes, and truly listening. Real connection isn't about speed or ease. It's about depth. It's about showing up fully, without distraction, and allowing space for vulnerability. Technology has given us incredible tools to stay in touch, but staying in touch is not the same as staying connected. You can scroll through someone's life on a screen and still not know how they're doing. You can send a message and check a box without ever asking how they really feel. Because connection doesn't live in the act of communication, it lives in the quality of it. It's the difference between saying, "I'm here," and actually being there. Emotionally, mentally, human presence requires effort. It requires attention. And that's something money can't buy. You can't pay someone to care, and you can't outsource sincerity. Presence demands that you slow down, even when everything around you is speeding up. It asks you to step into a moment without thinking about the next one, to hold silence when it's uncomfortable, to hear not just the words but the emotions underneath them. That kind of attention is rare. And because it's rare, it's powerful. Connection is inconvenient by nature. It interrupts your schedule. It doesn't happen on command. It comes in the quiet moments, the accidental pauses, the times when your guard is down and your heart is open. It thrives in the unpolished spaces, when things are messy, uncertain, or raw. And that's what makes it real. It's not curated or filtered. It's not transactional. It's shared, felt, lived. We've built systems that allow us to be more connected than ever, yet loneliness has never been higher. People are starving for presence, not more messages or meetings, but real presence, where someone sees them, hears them, and values them without agenda, where people feel safe to be honest without fear of judgment or dismissal. And that kind of connection doesn't happen when we're multitasking. It doesn't happen when we're chasing productivity. It happens when we're still, when we choose to look up, when we choose to care. Leadership, relationships, community, all of it depends on connection. And connection depends on presence. No app, no shortcut, no amount of wealth can replace the experience of being truly seen by another person. That's where trust grows. That's where empathy lives. That's where love begins. Not in the moments we broadcast ourselves, but in the moments we offer ourselves. Fully, freely, and without distraction. Connection is what makes us human. We've been taught to measure value in things we can count: money, possessions, followers, achievements. But the truth is, the things that hold the deepest value in life don't come with a price tag. Purpose doesn't sit on a shelf, and meaning isn't wrapped in packaging. The pursuit of purpose asks different questions. It doesn't ask, "What can I get?" but "What can I give?" It doesn't ask, "How much am I worth?" but "Who am I becoming?" The value of a life isn't found in what it owns, but in what it stands for. And when we stop chasing possessions and start pursuing purpose, something fundamental shifts in us. Possessions can bring comfort, even joy. They can mark moments and carry memories, but they don't anchor us. They don't tell us why we're here or how we want to spend our time. That's the role of purpose. It's not loud or glamorous. It's often quiet, internal, and difficult to define, but it's what gives our lives direction. It gives our choices meaning. It turns tasks into missions and struggles into stories worth telling. Purpose transforms what we do from survival into significance. When you lead with purpose, people feel it. It creates alignment. It builds trust. It draws others who believe in what you believe. And that's not something you can fake. You can project success, but you can't project authenticity. People can feel when your actions are driven by something deeper than status. They can sense when you're in it for something greater than yourself. And that's when loyalty happens. That's when community grows. That's when leadership becomes more than just a role. It becomes a responsibility. Possessions don't inspire. Purpose does. A big house doesn't make you feel seen. A big paycheck doesn't make you feel understood. But when you wake up knowing your life is contributing to something meaningful, whether it's raising a child, building a company, serving a cause, or simply being kind to a stranger, that feeling can't be bought. It has to be built. It has to be chosen. And often, it has to be protected from the noise of a world that constantly tries to distract you from it. We live in a culture that says more is the goal. More success, more likes, more stuff. But purpose isn't about more. It's about depth. It's about going all in on what matters, even when it doesn't scale, even when it doesn't impress, even when no one else understands. That kind of life might not make the headlines, but it leaves a legacy. It changes people. It changes you. True value lives in intention. It's not in the job title or the bank account or the car you drive. It's in the moments when your heart is aligned with your actions, when what you believe shows up in how you lead, how you love, how you show up for others. That's where real wealth is found, not in possessions, but in purpose.